Is this Mike from around the world? All right, hang on, Mike. Let me plug this in. And let's try that again. Is this Mike from around the world?
Yes, it is. Good evening, Pastor Paul.
Good evening, Israel. It's a little distorted. See if you can. It does look like he's. Mike, you got your microphone up there?
Yeah, I'm maxed out.
Okay, we can hear you, though. We can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Great to have you here tonight, Mike. There's a lot going on. I guess the pineapple shirt is on tonight.
Yeah, I see that. Good to be here.
It's good to have you. Mike, you brought some unbelievable things last Thursday night. I actually have a transcript here of your thoughts and comments. And we were looking at it, and we said, man, we got to ask Mike some stuff. And one thing you said 3 times without me asking. You said, the fire is coming. The fire is on the way. The fire is coming. And you said it 3 different times in the broadcast. Can you tell us what you meant by that, Mike, or can you help us understand this?
Well, fire in 3 different ways, really. Physical fire on the lands, heavenly fire from above, and a type of very difficult situation in most lands.
So, a fire from above, that would be the Holy Ghost. That would be the fire from God. Or would it?
And a physical fire from above.
A physical fire from above. Is that from the all this heavens are shaking from Planet X, Nibiru? Is this the meteor storm that's coming?
Yeah, we actually have an inbound cluster.
How far is it now, Mike, before we start seeing that?
I suspect that will begin in about within a month.
Within a month? Are you serious?
Yeah, we're not far off. Yeah, we'll start seeing remnants of that within a month.
Mike, okay, so in other words, it's going to start seeing the remnants of it. In other words, to be very slow beginning of it. Will it increase?
Oh, yeah. We'll see these sporadic increases. For example, right now we have incursions every so often. That frequency of incursions will increase. It'll be followed by atmospheric explosions, no doubt, which, by the way, is going to be hard to tell the difference between atmospheric explosions from meteorites and external weapons.
I want to apologize, folks, about Mike's phone. A little difficult to hear. I lost my phone today. I don't know where it's at. I lost it. I don't know where I left it or lost it. So we're using Heidi's phone, and Mike is calling from a different secured line, looks like, to her phone. And so it may not sound as clear as it normally does, but I think if you work with him and work with us, you'll be able to hear him well enough. Mike, you mentioned, let's talk about that again, because we brought up Stephen Ben-Hanun, last week, and about how he's saying, hey, you better check with Mike. Has he got any information about this incoming situation? So are you saying that this remnant of fire from above is it the same thing that he's talking about, or is this something different?
Or it could be one in the same. When we're talking about the heavens and certain events in the heavens that are atmosphere that will come here, we have problems. We're going to have to move beyond the stage of knowing about the information to actually dealing with the physical events that will take place.
So let's talk also a little bit about hurricane. You said there was going to be a water event coming 3 weeks ago. You mentioned it again last week. Hurricane Ida hit, wiped out Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and then last night and today, 45 more people have died in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut. We've lost about 50 people so far, and there's, if you look at all of it, is this the water event you're referring to?
No, but it certainly is a prelude to a water event. Last fall, about on the 23rd, I think somewhere around there, 23rd, I was disturbed with a dream or vision, whatever you call it. I can't tell the difference. But I was walking towards a house, and water came in the windows. It was just flooding out through the windows. Well, everybody started backing out of the house into the street. And by the time we got into the street, we could see in the distance fire. I turned around because I was going to go back another street over. Before I could get to the other street, the houses were on fire. So it was impressed upon me, and I did a small, short broadcast in COT. And I just told everybody about it. I said, when the water comes, the fire will follow. Well, somebody in where the fires are in out west, they heard that. They saw the glow, and they just packed up and left their house. And when they said about 15 minutes after they did that, they had looked back and their house was on fire.
What?
Yeah, so it helped a few people out.
So, yeah, because we have these massive wildfires, outrageously. I mean, what else can I say about what's happening to California and the West Coast, and the drought, and the lack of water, and the drying up of the Colorado River, and on and on and on. But east of the Mississippi, my Lord have mercy, the unseasonable flooding. I mean, we take it all the way back, Mike, to Detroit and Kansas City, and now, you know, these hurricanes that have been hitting, all this water. And yet you're saying this is just a precursor. The fire is coming. Water's first, but the fire is coming. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we're going to have, that was on a small scale, I believe, but normally in my dreams, it's the way you feel inside that dream. There's no time to second guess anything. That's what's coming up. You know how right now when something happens, we have time to second guess it. A time is coming when the events will happen so fast. There's no time to second guess it. You're either going to have your mind made up or not, which means we're moving into an area, even scientifically by observation. The heavens are busy tonight. They're very busy tonight. Not only are the heavens busy, but in some of the land masses in the world, we have forces at strength in the sky right now, right? So everybody's on edge in a way that an accident will most likely take place. But things will happen from so many different directions. Dealing with fire and water, it will be overwhelming.
What is the time frame? Do you have an idea what the time frame is for the water event followed by the fire event?
Everybody should keep in mind winter is coming. But before winter, we have more patterned hurricanes coming up the line. Only mercy is going to keep that water back. So when the winter comes, Pastor Paul, the snow yield, the yield of the snow, which will produce water, could be devastating by the time it melts. Can you imagine a consistent snowfall in certain areas, right? Large, and it just stays there. All of a sudden it melts. It gets real hot and it melts all at one time. That's going to be massive flooding inland, right? So here we have, you can see by these hurricanes, by low pressure systems, the ability of the atmosphere to retain moisture and just dump it inland, right? That's going to increase at least another 250% by winter, right? So we're going to have problems with water, but that'll be followed. This water event is going to be followed by a global water event. The ice melt is just melting too fast. Too fast. The currents are starting to change all throughout the oceans. Land masses are moving. Now, with certain breaks in these earthquakes that we're having, we're going to have a couple that will disturb the water. And what I mean by that, there's an updraft coming, which means land masses will start coming up from the bottom. They're doing it now in the Atlantic Ocean. As they push up, the water spreads out, right?
Yep.
Just like a cup. Drop an ice cube in a cup, the water level goes up. The same thing is happening in the Atlantic. You have upthrust in the Atlantic, you have upthrust in the South Pacific, and land masses are coming up from the bottom, forcing just unbelievable amounts of water inland. This will be somewhat abrupt because magma is somewhat exponential as it travels. In the North Atlantic, we have a real problem. There's a lot of land moving. I believe it's about a 1,000-mile span of land just popping up, right? 1,000 miles in radius.
1,000 miles?
That water displacement is unbelievable. You also have deep trenches that are being filled in certain places by magma, moving magma. That's forcing water up also. This in conjunction with the current change, the hot and cold flows of current in the ocean are helping to melt more of the ice. So with the permafrost missing and all this, that, and the other, with the atmosphere increasing in its temperatures, you're looking at a system, a circulatory system of the ocean and air that is just causing an ice melt nobody can deal with. Plus, we have water issues in the ocean. That water displacement, Pastor Paul, is going to translate into about 2.5 feet of water rising seemingly overnight.
Now, people in the East Coast, this Hurricane Ida residue, this incredible 10 inches of rain in New York City, a foot of rain in just outside of Philadelphia. I mean, these areas are just absolutely flooded. And, but you're saying this isn't the water event that's coming to that area, that it's going to get way worse.
Yes, yeah. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, God said he wouldn't destroy the earth by a flood anymore. That's right.
That's right.
He will not destroy the earth by water. But there will be floods and earthquakes in diverse places, right? The earth will not be destroyed by water. It's going to be destroyed by fire this time. But the water is going to cause every single coastal city to have problems and issues. Everything on the coastlines is going to be like New Orleans. And here's another problem, Pastor Paul. Some of the older rock that we have, like in America, is starting to sink. Recently, just last week, the government put markers in the Ozarks and various other places. I believe they put down about, it had to be at least 300-400 million sensors in the U.S. to measure topology changes, because we're having ground swells in America. Older rock is sinking in America. The Appalachian Mountains are fluctuating in America, right? So we're having all these issues because deep underneath us, where some of the older rock was solid, is being disturbed by magma, which is why they have a heat increase under New York City right now. They were talking about that this weekend. The gas companies have to make modifications to the gas system in New York City. Why? Because deep underneath New York City, the heat is rising. Pennsylvania has an extenuated problem of coal burning, and it's starting to reach Ohio. Well, it's already gone into Ohio. It's starting to reach New York also, but it's also traveling south. So we have fires that have formed underneath the ground, and we have fires coming from above the ground. And nobody needs to be reminded, down the Mississippi is a chain of nuclear facilities.
So, Mike,
go ahead.
You're saying the coal is burning under the ground over in the Appalachian Mountain area.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what's igniting that coal? It has to be the magma rise?
It's been ignited, Pastor Paul, for the last, 30 years?
From
Nobody
magma?
can put it out.
From magma rising? What's doing it?
No, this started about 35 years ago in a very small way. It just ignited. down there, you know, where they're digging for coal. They can't put out a coal fire, you know, that deep underground. But something else happened. It hit a gas pocket. The coal did. So the gas is seeping out, feeding that fire or that problem, that heat, right? Then, of course, 2 years ago, scientists said they found a caldera underneath New York. And that story just went away, right?
What? Are you? Whoa! Are you serious? Are you under New York, the Big Apple?
Don't you remember when they said they found a huge caldera underneath New York City?
Yeah, but I just kind of blew it off.
The scientist said, well, you know, it'll take 1 billion years for it to come topside. But I want everybody to know something. In the last, 5 years, we've had over 57 1,000-year storms. How about that? So things that normally would take a geological process of maybe a few hundred years or so, you might as well cut that down to a year or so, right? That's why they're having problems with their infrastructure right now underneath New York City. Things are changing all throughout America and all throughout all the other lands quickly.
So when you say the fire's coming, some of it's coming from above, but some of it's coming from below.
That's right.
And Peter, 2 Peter chapter 3 tells us the earth is going to melt with a fervent heat. Even the elements are going to burn up. It does tell us that. We can't escape that at some point, right?
No, we can't. That's all. Just look, if you look at America and where the populace in America is located, what would happen if magma breached some of the pipelines that we have going down to Texas into the Gulf? The Gulf would be on fire.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's a very real scenario. And do you not know that's a scenario that's incorporated into government preparedness?
Wow. So the fire's coming, folks. I think that's why maybe why Mike brought this up 3 times last week without me really catching on to what he was trying to say. But after going back and looking at the transcript from last week, I see Mike's point. Mike, let's talk about something else, and maybe we'll come back to the fire because I have another question out of the book of Revelation I want to ask about that. You said the Iranian cause, that ISIS-K is actually the same group that was disbanded a long time ago, but now Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and others are operating under the Iranian cause. Mm-hmm. Can you explain to us, what is the Iranian cause?
Iran is grouping together every ragtag team they can muster. They're going to pump money into these folks. They are forming a confederate right in front of our faces, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. They have equipment. Iran right now, Pastor Paul, has how many ground soldiers do you think Iran has? In all honesty, how many?
300,000.
You're too low. You're so low. You're too low.
What? A million? No way.
You got to go higher.
1.5 million?
You know, higher than that.
2 million?
Iran has multi-million in their number of troops, Pastor Paul. Do you see how things are painted in the news to where a person has a view of the world in a very fractured way? Iran has had more than 1 million ground troops for at least 20 years.
We don't hear about that, though, Mike.
No,
You
don't. Which is why in this day and age, Pastor Paul, I'll tell you, discernment is going to be one of the greatest gifts a person could ever exercise and be thankful for. Because the news is now officially propaganda, 100%.
Yeah, you're right.
It's only going to tell you things that's going to have one person fight against the other side, right? They know what they're doing by causing these fights. Because they cause these fights, people are against each other. They have no idea what's happening outside of their little engagements. In the meanwhile, the world has changed China is different. It's just, if you're talking about military superiority, China has copied everything. Everything. So this fracturing of our perception of the world is going to be costly to a lot of people, right? I believe the Lord, though, is doing something to the spirits of his children which won't allow them to accept what they hear on the news.
Right.
That's why people are so... The Christians are, they look at the news, they hear it, and they're like, no, that can't be it. That can't be it. Right?
Right.
And so if they start digging and if they start searching while they can, because I'll tell you something, the information on the internet's about to be scrubbed.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about to be scrubbed. They've already changed at least, I'll say, 30 to 40% of historical documentation. So the real history is not even being, it's not known yet. You know, it's not known anymore. These kids are going to be totally disconnected from the truth of how everything formed. And they are highly indoctrinated into a system of obey and do.
Mike, you used the word debacle on a live broadcast on August the 19th. August the 19th, you said Afghanistan is a debacle. Now, no one else said this anywhere else on the media or anywhere. You're the first, and we got it. It's on tape. We know. You said it. We even got the date, August 19th. And now the buzzword everywhere on the media, everywhere, is Afghanistan was a debacle. It is a debacle. It's a debacle. And that's all you keep hearing. Did you know, was this a code word that was going to be used later after the exit of the United States? Or did God put this in your spirit?
No, the Lord did that, Pastor Paul.
So what do you think when you hear that? It's like, whoa, confirmation.
Yeah. You know, that happens. The
Yeah.
Lord uses me because I have a microphone from time to time. But you also have a lot of people, Pastor Paul, like tonight. You have a pretty big audience tonight you may not be aware of.
Well, I'm looking at right now 7,500 on YouTube, and I'm sure that it's bigger than that out there, really. I don't know.
Yeah, because you have, people have their ways of rebroadcasting things.
Right. Do you know of any of that? I mean, Mike, you and I talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're listening all over the world. They're also listening among the military, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Pastor Paul, where you're going to find, you can't find real news with spiritual overtones. You can't find that on television because they are emotionally compromised. They're so hateful on the news. Everybody's full of hate. And a lot of Christians, if they watch that news, they're going to get mad too. They're going to drink the Kool-Aid, you know, out there in the world and start believing what they're saying. So people want the real story because, again, there's something inside of us. The spirit inside of us is saying, no, what you're saying is a lie. And they're searching for truth.
You're talking about the spiritual discernment along with what we see in the everyday events and biblical prophecy. Let's bring up the pineapple. 8 years ago or so, you had the dream, and you shared that last week, how that I was standing on the bank, the boat was there, I was begging people, calling people to come and to get on the boat. I was wearing this shirt, which, by the way, I didn't buy till 6 months ago, and I did not know anything about that. So it's unbelievable. But then I was watching one of the patriots, one of the our veterans, special op guy, who had actually went over in Afghanistan and was trying to get as many people out as he could. As well as, since he came back, he's been on the phone with guys on the ground to try to escort American citizens through the mob of the Taliban into the gates. And there was one, or they would tell people, go to this one gate, and here is the password. It's a top secret word. And that word was pineapple. And if you knew the word, they let you in. Mike, you can't make this stuff up. Is there something, I mean, is God speaking to his children of the events of these last days?
He always is, Pat. You know, I believe he is. I believe he's speaking loudly. not only did he begin this in our spirit, which is why a lot of people know something is off, something is wrong, something is not right. They're in this constant pursuit of trying to see what the truth is because they know something is happening, something's around the corner. They can't find it anywhere, Pastor Paul. So it should have been the first resort, but unfortunately it's the last resort, is to really align our lives with Christ so we can understand where we are. Because my personal belief is that we're a lot further along in prophecy than anybody thinks.
Amen. You talked about an unholy alliance last week in the Middle East. Can you expand on that?
Well, Iran being one of those individuals that's going to supply the army, and believe me, they have their children. The children of Iran are highly dedicated to the fallen military generals of Iran. Those generals are like dads to those young troops. There is a loyalty in Iran that is unmatched. Anywhere you can't find that type of loyalty in the world. While this is happening, relationships with North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia have only strengthened. Turkey right now brokers deals between Russia and the rest of the Middle East. But as you can see, the U.S., now folks, listen up, the U.S. gave you a message during this military debacle. And they basically said, we must prepare to engage Russia, China. I hope everybody was hearing. I really do hope that people were hearing that. Because we pulled our troops back. They're going to be right here. Of course, we still have forces out there, but we pulled a great many back here. We also have 300,000 Afghanistans here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's no way you can vet that. You can't vet that many people because they're loyal to their faith. Now, so far as when they have freedom, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. When a person of the Islamic faith who is highly motivated by their faith, when they seek asylum, they will conform to whatever country they're in. Once they are secured in that country, they're going to start to learn the ins and outs of our faith, how we operate. They will be treated unfairly. They are. They're going to be treated unfairly. That's going to cause animosity. That's going to drive them closer to the aggressive part of their faith. They're going to dispatch all throughout the U.S., and we're going to have problems with our power plants in a matter of weeks.
Weeks? Whoa, wait a minute. I mean, you brought this up before, but now, is there a lot of sleeper cells loose in America? You're looking for our power grids to start going down on some kind of an attack?
Yep, Pastor, we got to face the facts. And with higher education, most of the folks who have higher education are from overseas.
Yeah.
They're not from America. So if you go into a nuclear facility, you'll see individuals from India, from Afghanistan, from, Middle Eastern quadrants running our military operation, or our nuclear operations. How easy would it be for a person who is devoted to the radical side of Islam to go into one of those places and just, do what they have to do? So, because they make declarations and they will not move from those declarations. If they declare that they won't stop until America burns, I'm telling you now, until 100 generations, they'll keep that promise. If they declared that they won't stop until Israel burns, to 100 generations, they'll keep that promise. So we can expect some disruptions here in the U.S., and we're going to have to harden our infrastructure and get ready for it quickly.
Are you worried about 9/11? A hit, some kind of attack in this country on 9/11?
I would say a mishap. An attack doesn't, an attack like that would be known as an attack, would only muster or gather us. Americans, listen, they have been highly involved in separating us. And we have bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, I know.
I don't know how many ways I can say it, but we have foreign intervention, which has caused Americans to turn against Americans.
Yeah. And it's not Trump and the Russian collusion thing either.
No, it's not. It's not. There was foreign intervention to cause even that problem, to cause any subject to come up where Democrats and Republicans would argue and begin to hate people. Because right now, do you know what the government's like? They can't do anything.
No.
They're ineffective.
They're impotent.
They can't do
They're
impotent.
impotent.
Everybody should have seen what happened in Afghanistan. You know what, Pastor Paul? That's impossible with a unified government.
Exactly.
To have Democrats and Republicans battle for checks and balances, that no one side rules the world, that everything will be approved by council by balances, right? But that's not what they're doing. They have made two teams, Team A and Team B, and if you agree with Team A, you're ostracized from Team B.
Cancel culture.
That's not the way it's supposed to be.
No.
That's not the way it's supposed to be. But this was an operation seeded into our politics, which, by the way, is highly effective. That's why there's a death rate I'm concerned about from things that are happening within the U.S. There's propaganda that people now believe. And a large bit of it is false because it was written in a letter 2 years ago. There are plans that were made 2 years ago. The things that people believe now, that they use one against the other, it was planned out 2 years ago to the letter. And the populace, they take up the charge. See, because if you get the news people or the government, anybody in the government to believe something, and don't trust everybody in the government because they're making money. And if they have financial stresses, I'm telling you, they're going to make a deal with a corporation. And that corporation is going to have incredible income coming from the Middle East somewhere. So we can't even trust that. That's why Christians have to stand up with great morality, responsibility, and assume responsibility of all things. Never pointing a finger, but stand up and make a difference.
Yep.
Wherever you are.
And it's happening. We are seeing Christians who are standing up, making a difference without getting caught in the rhetoric and the accusations and the finger pointing and playing the same ugly game that the world plays. We have to play by a different set of rules as Christians. We have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, but not afraid to stand up for the truth.
That's right.
Let me ask.
People confuse that, Pastor Paul.
Yeah, they really do.
They think love is weakness. Love is not weakness.
No.
Right? To stand in love means you can stand in the fire for your fellow man.
Yes.
That's what it means.
All right, Mike. As we're on this subject here, there's 90 generals, 90 U.S. generals, retired generals, who signed a petition calling for the resignation of the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, and the Joint Chief of Staff, General Mark Milley. Among those 90 generals, and I have a list of them all, I've actually got the document, is William Boykin, Jerry Boykin. He's a good friend of ours, and I've interviewed him 3 times. He was on Fox News this morning calling for these 2 gentlemen to resign. He said, do us all a favor. Matter of fact, you know this is the right thing to do. I'm wondering, this alliance, they call them the alliance, these 90 generals, are they looking for a way to save face for the military? Why are they just saying, look, they're not blaming the military because the commander-in-chief, but they're saying that he was given tons of information, but he just didn't do it. Why do you think that they have to have a couple heads to roll? Why are they adamant about this? Do they blame these guys? Do they feel like these guys really dropped the ball?
Well, there's commander-in-chief, yes. But ultimately, the general, right? That top guy, top commander.
Yep.
It's going to be his call. He's got to assume responsibility. You know what? If something were to happen under my watch, if I were given a command or something like that, I would take the hit, but I would certainly not run that operation like that. You see,
yeah,
there comes a time in everybody's career where they're going to have to do the right thing and then take a hit for it.
Yep.
The world may see you as, you may get fired, you may get letters of reprimand, whatever the case is, but you're going to do the right thing by millions of lives. Some people do the wrong thing to save their own rank, to save their own livelihood. And the military doesn't need people like that. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, having said that, could the Joint Chief of Staff, could he override the Commander-in-Chief and say, no, we're not going to do this way. I'm not going to have the blood on my hands, Mr. President. There's no way we're going to leave these people in this hell called the Taliban's abyss. No. Could he have said that? Could he have said that?
Well, think of it this way. The military, those CIA operatives, DIA, military on the ground, they advise the president. Mr. President, let's get these guys out. Here's a good time frame, right? The generals, they follow orders. They say, well, the president will get their advice and say, what do you think about this? What's going to be our casualty rate, whatever the case is. So they go and do an assessment. They give it back to the president. It's up to them to say, hey, we can do this, but we need A, B, C, and D. Or, Mr. President, I strongly advise against this. And then they start talking to other commanders responsibly about the same thing, saying, no, it's not going to work. If they would have advised Biden to say to not do this, right, he would have done it. But what happened was, that's not what happened. They, yeah, go ahead and pull them out. They don't want to, it became too political. They pulled them out anyway because they were trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do, honestly, but they pulled them out anyway. And there was some leadership who supported this. Now, did they purposely do it, or were they not fit for that, to make that decision? Yeah, it's something for them to decide. But it was certainly a debacle. There were some unestimated elements involved that were highly known. Right? And believe it or not, it was going to be messy anyway, but it didn't have to be this way. Right? You didn't have to, you don't leave 38 million people in the desert walking around. Right? They're at the wall right now. They're at the line of Afghanistan right now. A lot of people have gotten to the border of Afghanistan.
Right.
Right? So
right.
That's partially good news. Now, it's going to be a job getting some of these folks into other places. There have been 13 temporary bases set up since just 2 days ago to now to feed these people, house these people, get them
in the Middle East.
Places.
Are you talking about in the Middle East, in the countries, or Europe?
Yeah, no, Afghanistan. They're getting help. There's some folks, brave folks, who are doing their best to get these folks out of there. Right?
Glenn Beck.
Because
Glenn Beck is trying.
They got to get out of there.
Glenn Beck is spending. Glenn Beck has raised $30 million. He helped get 5,000 people out of there.
There's a guy, Pastor Paul. He's an Afghan guy. He spent 24 hours a day on the phone since it began. And at least per day, he was moving at least 2,000 people per day.
God bless
this guy he's just incredible. And he's God-fearing. He's a Christian.
Yeah.
So that made it even better. But you have people out there like that, right? Because you have a lot of kids out there. You have kids, and it looks bad. Listen, because I'll say it again. Anybody left in that land, they're dead. They're going to die. They're just
we've got the Pentagon says we have 200 to 300 American citizens. I think it's probably more like 2,000 to 3,000. We can't get a true number out of nobody. We sure got a lot of Afghanistan people that are going to be here in this country. Over 100,000 Afghanistan. So I mean, it's really and the leaked phone call. I'm not going to say anything about that here. But if you go to my app, New Apocalypse Watch, just go to my app. It's called New Apocalypse Watch. You can't get it at Google. You can't get it at Apple Store. Those guys, I don't even use them. Just go to New Apocalypse Watch, subscribe, and I have a video where I read the whole transcript of what took place. I mean, you do the math when you listen to this. So there's some stuff that's been going on for a while now. There's some big money that's moved.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how Hunter Biden gets $1.5 billion. I don't know how all that works. But there's a lot of money moving, and there's a lot of lives going to be slaughtered at the hands of the Taliban in the next few weeks. And you know that, Mike. You know that.
Yeah. Keep in mind, too, ISIS is, they have a battle plan that they're about to implement.
All right.
The Taliban, you know, but when it comes to that situation, I'll tell you something, Fastball. Like Rome, I said this before, I'll say it again, Rome will eventually side with one group of the Islamic world to fight another group of the Islamic world. After we see the Islamic world go to war against its own people, everything will unfold after that. Everything.
You're saying Rome. You're saying, okay, the Vatican. Let's say Rome.
Rome is going to be involved.
Right, and they're going to choose either the Shiites or the Sunnis
to help. That's right.
And they're going to throw some cash in there. You just face it. They're going to throw. They got money. They're going to throw some in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you're saying
that it's going to be an internal war.
You're saying there's going to be an unholy war, and then the victor will go forward with the agenda to try to march on Jerusalem. And let's just face it, Naftali Bennett, who was just in the White House last week as this all was collapsing, this debacle, he was begging the president for arms, for reload the Iron Dome. Give me the tools. He said, I don't need one American soldier to fight for us. Just give us the tools to defend ourselves. Does he know it's coming? Do they, Benny Gantz, do these guys know it's coming?
Yes, they do. In fact, those are the ones who, they come through intel daily, right? So they have a network where they receive all the viable information over there. And they need everything they can get right now. It's not like in past days where things, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. No, we have a real problem in the Middle East. And to be frank with you, we had to get our boys and certain strategic individuals out of the Middle East. Everything you see that happens in the Middle East is multidimensional, meaning it serves more than one purpose. Yeah, it was a debacle, but I do know they had to get some folks out of Afghanistan, out of the Middle East, period, because you have to pull your good people out before the land ignites. And we're about to see plenty of things unfold, very distasteful things unfold. But I have to say this, we've been through this before with World War I and World War II. We're still here. The only difference is we are set up a different way, and we have known events coming and changes that everybody can see, which was almost a mandate of prophecy. And spiritually, we're just far too close to an everlasting change. Plus, I know you, and that makes I don't, look, that dream changed everything, Basketball. Now that I know you, I know the clock is ticking.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you would know in your spirit, in your heart, and you, audibly from God, hey, we're in the end times here. The dream come to pass. It's still unfolding as we speak. And we got to get people to Jesus Christ. We got to get people on the boat. The Pineapple Express is leaving, okay? The church is going. You got to get the clothing. You got to get washed in the blood of the Lamb, as Mike has told you in the dream. You can't get in with filthy garments. And so, wow. Let me ask you something else, Mike, as we're talking about these things. Obviously, we're watching what looks like I just did a DVD. I just filmed it today, and it's going to be an amazing teaching. I really believe that. Called Revelation 9:11, Revelation 9:11, of the release of Apollyon or Abaddon, and it's going to be a paradigm shift. Are we about there? I mean, did you see the Taliban guys are all wearing these red bandanas now? I mean, are they the red horsemen of the apocalypse? They are.
I'll tell you what, being in proximity with these guys, there's no mistaking the spiritual difference that you feel. It's like darkness. It's a darkness in the Middle East that cannot be explained. It follows these guys around, and they're building a number. They're building an underpass, Paul. And you know what? So we've got to get ready. That's just like how governments operate right now. That's going to change so fast. Having one president, that's going to change so fast, right? Like America, our leadership is about to change real fast.
Hey!
And I wouldn't, anybody out there, it's not going to go forward like it's been going forward. Let's just put it this way. We're going to be governed more by council than anything else.
So in other words, we're not even going to hardly have a head of the government. It's just going to be a council. It's going to be consensus, what have you. Let me ask you a question. How come that they would not even read the names of the 13 fallen Marines, and they wouldn't? The Speaker of the House refused to allow their names just to be read in remembrance of them. How can this be happening?
Well, because we see it one way, right? But in leadership, they see it as somebody rubbing their faces in the dirt. And I tell you right now, it's a matter of pride. They operate by pride, big-time pride. They do things because they're prideful, behind standing their ground and their position, not being bullied by any other side. And you're going to see this foolish back and forth. And Jesus warned us, a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. Shall not stand.
Yeah.
So Christians, but the Lord also told us, Pastor Paul, that the children of the kingdom of God are given the kingdoms of this world.
Yes!
So the true leaders in this nation are not the ones you see failing before you. By the way, everything we trust in that is not Christ must fail us. It must fail us, so that only Christ will be our justification, our truth, our shield, our everything. But the Lord doesn't want us trusting in things outside of Christ, because that will kill us by way of the soul.
Exactly. Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that, folks. China. Okay. The Bible says in Revelation that there's going to be a 200 million man army. I think the Chinese could pull that off, but can the caliphate of nations and radicals, could they pull that off? Is Iran? Because you just said Iran
could pull it off.
By them, well, 200 million now. 200 million.
They could pull it off.
Because they would gather. They would gather their forces.
Right now, they have half of it, so I don't see why not.
What? Okay, so, and it's to come against Israel, obviously.
They have the standing declaration, Iran does, against Israel. It's amazing to me how of all the countries, Iran is the one that continues to say Israel should be wiped off the face of the earth, and nobody does anything, well, against it. It's just amazing how nobody sees this. Isn't it funny? And Iran is almost like a non-subject in a lot of people's eyes. That's a mistake. Iran is a very big subject. Now, I'll tell you something. There's a reason we haven't gone in there yet, but they're going to be dealt with.
What is that reason? Let me ask you a question. You said that those young men, those young fighters, they're loyal to their generals. When President Trump dropped that Hellfire missile on top of Qasem Soleimani's head, how's that working with those young guys over there? I mean,
well, they hated that. That's why they declared that they would destroy Trump, remember? You guys remember the death threat against Trump? That threat is still active. And now guess what? Now we have a bunch of people from the Middle East over here, and we don't know who is who.
Could there be assassins? Can there be assassins among them? Professional assassins?
What better way to have a person bound to the Middle East against the West to come to the West, but through Afghanistan? What better way? You know they took advantage of that. You know they're sitting among those who are over here.
I think it's part of the plan. It was part of the plan. That's why they left our own people behind. I'm not blaming the military. I'm not blaming those young 20, 21-year-old Marines, some of them just out of high school, who gave their life. I'm not blaming them. They were given orders. They were set up like the Alamo. Nobody does that. I mean, even the Alamo got to shoot back. Davy Crockett got to shoot back. These guys were encamped like an Alamo. This was a debacle. Yes, it's beyond that. It's worse than that. And I gotta be careful.
Yeah, you do. Because you're onto something. Now you have something tangible and real. You just have you have something tangible and real. So I'll leave it at that.
Wow, folks, this is Mike from around the world. I love Mike. I love his candor. I love his ability to help bring things forward. And we're watching a formation of an unholy alliance that the Bible talks about. It even refers to, these 3 unclean spirits that come out near the river of Euphrates and that whole area. And I think that you're seeing the formation of this, Mike. And some of them have been planted in the West. I'm talking not only the United States, but they're in Canada, they're in Australia, they're in France, they're in Britain, they're in Germany, they've been moved around. So I think that this is a internal, hostile takeover of the West is in process. They're trying to do it. I'm not sure how much they will achieve, but certainly they'll achieve enough that Zechariah 14 will take place where Gog and Magog, and the attack on Israel. There's a lot going on. What else, Mike, is that you've come across in the last month that you've been holding back and knowing just saying, oh, my Lord, that you can share even or give us a clue, give us a hint that we should be concerned about?
Well, I think that these next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, are going to be quite straining upon everybody, Pastor Paul. For Christians, be careful not to be lured into conversations and divisiveness. Be careful of that. Be very careful. Also, these storms that are coming and damaging the infrastructure, bit by bit, they're going to cause greater complications. Be aware of that also. Be aware of that. You guys have smart meters all over the place. We have a new comm system in the atmosphere. We have a whole different comm system in the atmosphere over America, indeed, and throughout the world. The West is there's an exodus happening right now from the West to Texas. A lot of people are going to Texas right now. So these are troubled areas, but you got to be ready to hold on to all things of your spirit and Christ. And Pastor, we didn't discuss this yet, but there's a new doctrine out there.
All right.
That's being distributed.
Okay.
It's very challenging. They're coming forward with evidence that will shake the faith of many. If there's a weakness in a person, after seeing proof, I'm telling you now, Pastor Paul, some of those folks are going to move towards this hybridized religion. But I can also say this. We have a promise over us, those who are truly belong to Christ. We will not worship the dragon, the beast, take the mark of the beast. We will not go to that other side. Those who fall away, and we have to get our hearts ready for this, those who fall away are the tares. The tares fall away.
Yeah.
Jesus said he will keep all who come to me, the Father hath given me, and I will in no wise cast out.
Right.
So our belief is God giving us to a son to be kept all the way home. But there's some that are sown among us. They're about to be revealed in a big way. They are very divisive. And once you start to pull away from them, they will get angry. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like those people, so long as you're doing right by them, they smile. As soon as you disagree with them, they get angry and throw a tantrum, and they're ready to kill you. Yep. They're about to be known. And one of the truths of that is a lot of people are losing their ability to hide what they truly are on the inside. And because it's going to be so close to home, a lot of people are finding this in their families. But we have to think soberly here. In truth, your children are your brothers and your sisters. In truth, right? We've just been given charge to raise them. But all those who are truly your family, the Lord will put all of you in his barn. But as far as the tares, he's bundling them together just like he said he would. So don't be afraid when they gather in groups against you. Don't be afraid when they kick you out of their clubs. They're going to do this expeditiously, especially right now, since in their eyes the timeline's a lot further than you know. And if you don't believe me, look in some of the new operations and policies, and you're going to notice scripture all throughout those policies and all throughout those operations. They're going to utilize the names of scriptures because even they know that we're close to something like Operation Starfall. People, I'm sure that people are talking about that new House resolution, and they're wondering what in the world that is. But think of it, Operation Starfall, Pastor Paul, in Revelation 6, or the sixth seal, the stars fall from heaven to earth.
Yes. Like
figs when shaken from a mighty wind. So there you are. They're going to utilize these things more and more because they realize, they actually believe, but they're doing something about it to save their own skin.
Right. So in other words, they know the stars are going to fall. They know the meteor storm is coming. They're preparing on how they're going to survive the apocalypse in the natural. We're preparing ourselves how we're going to be taken away forever to be with the Lord in the spiritual and natural both. Our whole body's going to go. So you say hyperized religion, a new doctrine. You're calling it a new doctrine, the hyperized religion. And they're going to try to get people to take the mark of the beast.
Oh, it's coming.
It's closer.
It is coming.
It's closer than we think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. The technology, the final elements of the technology, I personally believe that within a month and a half, it'll be in place.
The technology will be in place?
Oh, yeah. Technology will be in place. Think about something. They have jailed people. Lots of people have been jailed for not having their vaccine cards.
Yep.
And for forging them, right? Now, if they'll throw you in jail for forging a vaccine card, for crying out loud, well, then it's all gone now. If they get away with that, they're getting away with that. See, we're supposed to have people on Washington say, no, you can't throw anybody in jail for that vaccine card. Because if they allow that, that sets a standard for future things. Any policy that passes will set a standard for future things. And any nefarious person can utilize those same policies according to their own will. And this is what everybody is truly setting up for, which is why you see these drastic changes in policy and everything else. Pastor Paul, it's getting late. I got to turn my motor off.
God bless you. I know it. God bless you, Mike. Thank you for joining us. We love you, brother.
God bless you, Pastor Paul.
See you next Thursday. God bless, brother.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. Back around the world, folks.